got dirt tattooed on his right forearm, D-I-R-T. He used to be a NASCAR fan till we lost, D-A-L-E.
Rest in peace, John. It was an honor to meet you. It was an honor to be there for you when I could help you. Given the opportunity to help you unload the car and load it back up is a true honor. I'm glad to have met you. I remember the first time I met John, me and my dad were waiting for Joe to open the gates there at the track. And we were like parked behind his minivan, and we're just sitting there in that line, and he just comes right up to our window. Me and my dad are talking, and all of a sudden he knocks on our window, like, oh, whoa, hey, and he came over, and he was like the nicest guy, and he said hi to us and introduced himself and everything. So technically, other than Joe, I think he's like the very first person I met, because that was like one of the first days I came to race there at that track. I only had my street stock, my B6 mid motor or whatever, B5 mid motor I got, and that was it. That's the very first person I met, pretty much. Me and my dad thought he was great, and my dad told me a story that one time when he was practicing on the track and John was out practicing probably with his mud boss or something, and my dad had his sport mod, and they were going back and forth, and he was kind of pacing with them, and he said that they were having a good time, and he was learning stuff from John, and my dad was keeping his car going good, and he kind of felt like it was because of John that he started doing really good and pacing around, making some good laps. And after they were done, they both kind of just turned to each other and smiled, and I thought that was way cool. I remember just John being that all around that everyone says, that awesome guy. And I can only hope that, we could all live up to being that type of guy, that we all could be him, like that's he's a real true hero, someone that you can look up to, someone you could be like, and man, he's done some great things with real cars, with sprint cars, with NASCAR, and all the way down to the scale cars, and he's just an all-around awesome dude, and I'm just honored to meet him. I'm honored to be a part of all that, and I thank everyone that was also a part of that, that helped out. Right on. Rest in peace, John.
That's John 17.5 Sprint. He always ran out here. John's late model, definitely one of John's favorite cars there. John had two of everything just about, or more, at least two cars. If one car didn't work, he tried the next one. I think that Mud Boss out there, I think he won his last race out here with. So if anybody wants to get out of here, this for John right here. Got all John's cars out here that are together. Yeah, not all of them, but else want to come on out? Run just a little bit. You guys are gone, man.
So it can go up to 6S though?
Uh-huh. And
Yeah.
4 is fucking lots of thrust. I'll radio that up. Smooth it.
Custom built chassis. What else you got in there?
Carbon fiber. It weighs just over 2 pounds with the bed.
Wow, that's less than friggin' drag cars we were running.
Yeah, they're like 5-6
Batteries
pounds
in it,
sometimes.
feel the weight.
Oh my god, batteries in it.
Yeah.
Dude, it's like nothing. You're gonna need
No,
weight.
it's as much as my,
You might need weight.
Well, I made the outlet adjustable so that I can figure out the sweet spot.
So sick, bro.
now you gotta make it adjustable on the fly.
Yeah. This is my jet vet.
You're ready to catch it.
No, I'm gonna hold on to it. I've learned a lot of lessons building this thing.
Uh-huh.
Be aiming at Rob. You gotta arm it.
That's the one that gets warm.
You saw right there when you had to hold it. Actually, we wanted to take off on
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I like the LEDs where they change color with
Uh-huh.
power.
Yeah, when you get up to full speed, they're red.
On the rear? You have to let me.
on this side.
Yeah. Oh yeah, cool. Oh, what, dude?
It's in the
No. We got these floating
That's
disc
only
brakes.
four
Here,
still.
show the disc brakes again, Chuck. That's sick, dude.
Yeah, I can go up to 6, dude.
When I was racing
Now, how long did it take you to make that custom cow right there, how it's shaped?
Oh, it took probably a whole day just to figure out the shape and make a template. Because what I usually do is take like, it's like a cardboard,
Yeah.
and I'll, measure everything out, and I'll start cutting stuff. And I basically tape shit together, and I actually I make it a part,
Yeah.
not a cardboard. And then if it works and I'm happy with it, I use that as a template.
Hell yeah. No, nice. Freaking sick, Chuck. That was awesome. What do you call it? Is there a name for it?
Jet vet.
Jet vet. Hell yeah, man. It's the jet vet right there.
All right. So everybody got it lined up? Hope everybody's got it signed up right now.
Is there anything that's that?
Money sign for eBay?
I do.
How are you?
The aftermath.
Hold on. Hold on. You're talking about her drag?
My name is George Olson. I pit for John Viel in the 80s. And in 1987, we had a real big race in San Jose. And boy, we just couldn't make the main event. We finished 5th in our heat. So we had to qualify for the main. We had to go through the semi-main. So we went ahead and ran the semi-main, and he won the semi-main, so which we'd expect because we started up front. So we started in the back of the main event, the transfer spot, 17. And he ran really, really hard, and he got to a point where he was running about 6 and couldn't seem to make any headway. Well, there was a yellow flag. The yellow flag put us on the 3rd row outside of the 6th place position. And on the restart, we went in the turn 1 going 6, and we come out at turn 2 in 3rd. Because everybody went down to the low groove, and he just drove up high and drove around him. So then we were in 3rd, and then subsequently we ended up winning the race in 4 or 5 laps. The last 4 or 5 laps, I don't remember, but we won the race, and he won it on the last turn of the last lap. And I mean, it was just absolute dramatic fashion, and there were so many people in the stands. It was their first time there, most of them, because they got a free ticket from the fair. It was really kind of a long story, but it was a bonus night. Boy, the fans just rose up in their seats, and it was just the most amazing thing. It was just one of the greatest races I think I've ever seen him run.
John loves everybody here. This is all John's family, pretty much, here, his family. And any stories, anybody got some stories? I know there's a bunch out there. Okay. Anybody want to bring up a story here? Any good memories of John Viel here? Big cars, little cars, whatever.
I got a few.
Okay.
I don't want the mic. You guys just get a little closer.
Somebody get his spot.
Well, I probably told you guys this before, but I first became aware of John in like 1976 at West Capitol. And I don't know if anybody here besides George has been there, but you just had to be there to experience West Capitol. It was the most amazing track I've ever seen. So John was wearing the number 1. He was the track champion the previous year at West Capitol, which is saying something. You look at these cups, I mean, I know all these guys because I used to watch them. Any of those guys to win a championship, you know, John prevailed. So anyway, I didn't know him then, but I knew of him. I felt a connection because he was from Pleasant Hill and I'm from Antioch. It's like, wow, this guy's from Pleasant Hill, you know, Sacramento. Anyway, I had some thoughts about John. John was the nicest person you'd ever meet off the track. So you put him in a car, and then, I mean, he was a fierce competitor. He was clean, just a fierce competitor. But he never drove dirty, he never, you know, put a wheel on anybody, anything like that. He understood racing like nobody I've ever seen. He understood that if you're going to win, you got to finish first. So finishing was first thing, you know, first priority. And that's the way he drove. He drove real cars that way, which was hard to do at West Capitol. I mean, it was just, it's hard to describe unless you've ever seen it. And he drove RC cars the same way. You know, I love watching him drive. A lot of us, you know, we all know how hard it is to win a race. John won races. It's even harder to win a championship. I think he won 5. 1 in West Capitol. I think he won 4 in San Jose.
1 in Capitol.
5 in San Jose.
No.
5 in San Jose?
82, 87, and 88 in San Jose. 3.
3?
Yeah. And then 1 in Sacramento.
Yeah. So that's really hard. And John did the hard. You know, he knew how to do it. He did it, super modified, kind of evolved into winged sprint cars, and John was there for that evolution. I modeled this after his 1975 car, which was like a cross leaf spring in the front. It was pretty crude by today's standards, but they used to joke about it being the battle wagon at the West Capitol. John built that car to not break. You gotta finish, yeah. There might have been some intimidation factor there. It's like, you're not gonna hurt this car. Bang on it all you want, you're not gonna hurt it.
Was that the red one on Facebook? That looked like a wagon too. 12 on it?
You know, I've never seen any color pictures. I've got some on my phone of the car I patterned this one after. But it was orange and black, you know, it's typical colors. But you couldn't hardly see the car. I mean, these little side nerfs here,
yeah,
they were actually in the picture. I'll show them to you later. They were above the rear tire.
Yeah. Well protected.
Well protected, yeah. I mean, you couldn't see the headers, you couldn't see anything, but that car was a battle wagon. But you needed that up at West Capitol because that was wheel-to-wheel racing. So, one thing that really struck me is that I really admired about John. All these accomplishments, he did it in his own car, on his own dime. You know, we were talking earlier about him not wanting sponsorships and stuff, but that's even harder. You know, I mean, there's even at West Capitol, towards the end of before they shut it down, there was some big money being spent, and John wasn't one of those guys. I watched him one night. He had his car up on a hauler, had the oil pan off, and was under arc welding with his fire suit, something under the oil, you know. And I asked him about that on one of our trips to Auburn. I go, you remember that? He goes, and I didn't know him. I just remember seeing him do that, you know. He goes, yeah, I was welding the oil pump pickup back under the oil pump. That's the way John was, whatever it took, you know. He just did whatever it took to get it done. And I just really admired that about him. Yeah, I mean, a lot of you guys know that, you know, we spent a lot of time together. Sorry. Going back and forth to Auburn, and for me, I don't want to share his head. Anyway, he never got mad at whatever happened on the track. Always looking forward. When we come home, he was never mad. Even if he had a bad night, all the cars broke, that was behind him, looking at next week. And I learned how to do that from him, you know.
And he was on the phone on Monday ordering a bunch more parts, right?
All
the regular.
I know we all miss him. He was a racer's racer, and just a little bit of trivia. I looked back because I thought this was the case, and I went back and looked at the race results. The last time he raced here, he won both main events that night. So he went out a winner.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Well, that's our buddy John. I don't know John too well, but he was a racer, and we raced CDMs, gas, and then the Sprint, and then the Mud Boss. He was a good guy, and nobody has a bad word to say about him. The only thing I have to say is he was always here first, and he was still practicing late at night.
Oh yeah.
And I want to get out of here, but I knew he was there. And then when he wasn't here anymore, just that weekend coming here, he wasn't in his area, and I knew something was happening. But he will be missed. I don't know him that well. We all don't know him, but he was a good guy, and people should learn on how to race like him. So he was my friend, a good guy.
You want to know something that John taught me? John was the most unconventional setup guy there was. Okay, he showed me how to set my sprint car up, and I swear that car was just going to go nothing to the hill. That car turned it turned so well after that, I could not believe it. That's how unconventional he was about setting a car up. It was unbelievable.
Well, I guess I'll go next. I can speak from the big car world. I live in Sacramento. My name's George. I was on his pit crew before he right at the time he retired. And I was going to West Capitol Raceway that Butch spoke of, and a very nice track, amazing track. I mean, you don't know what you got till it's gone. You guys are familiar with that. Well, that was really true about West Capitol. It was a horrible track. Not a great facility, but boy, that track was gumbo to the hill. And one of the reasons why the cars were so heavy there was because it was rut. And if you had a real light car, it wasn't to your advantage. Might have been to your advantage to go fast, but you hit those ruts and you wouldn't go fast. So that's why it was such a heavy car. But I started going out there about 1977. And I was with a friend of mine who had a car. It was a, D-main, that kind of car, really slow, junk. Anyway, I was out there anyway, having fun. And so I was in the stands, and after we had raced and watching the main event, and I noticed that Wayne Sue was the top driver. Sutter Butte Dusters. Wayne's a good guy too, but he was number one at that time. He was ahead in points, and John had this orange car with yellow writing. Bailey Brothers number one. He was number one at that time. Kind of like Natalie, except instead of a white one, it'd be a yellow one. Kind of really weird, Anyway, it caught my eye, and I'm just kind of watching this guy. He's running second to Wayne Sue, and I'm thinking, that guy's smooth, and he's driving this old battle wagon, and it really wasn't an attractive car, but man, it was moving, and he was gaining on it. Sue's out there in a real nice sprint, well, modified at the time, and John's in this old, battle wagon, and he was catching him, and then pretty quick, John started to fade. And what had happened is his axle broke. They used to use those, what do they call them? The 3/4 ton axle, live axle, full floater. Yeah. Anyway, one of them broke. So, when you hit the gas, it went sideways. So, okay. So I'm thinking about it, during the week, going, I'm gonna keep an eye on that guy. It was really interesting. Next week, I watch him. He won. I think he might have beat Wayne Sue from behind. I'm not positive, but I know he won the race. And I thought, God, this guy is amazing, So I kept watching him, and then they'd have these match races, these grudge races. They called them grudge races. Nobody was mad at anybody, but they called them that, right? So it was best 2 out of 3, 2 cars. And John was one of the cars, and then Wayne Sue was supposed to be the next car. Well, Wayne Sue had a problem that night. Something broke or something anyway. So anyway, John's up against Hash Brown. Beat Hash Brown. Next week, he's up against Jerry Miller. Beat Jerry Miller. Beat Joe Hill. Beat Nick Racino, and that was unheard of, So then finally he was going to race Wayne Sue and John had a problem, so couldn't race. Well, the next week, John and Sue, and everybody was ready for this, man. Because, and Wayne Sue was a wonderful guy, by the way, just a great guy. John really liked him. Anyway, this was racing, right? You know what you were saying, roll up the sleeves and get up on the wheel, right? So anyway, 2 out of 3. So John won the first one, I think Wayne won the second one, and on the third one, John was on the outside and Wayne was on the inside, and they threw the flag. And Wayne had a big lead. I don't know why they threw the flag, but they threw the flag. And I'm getting ready to protest how terrible that flag was. And John turns that thing sideways right after the flag, man. Turned it sideways, just like that. Right on Wayne Sue, like Wayne Sue's tail was right here. John's like this. And then Sue turns around. By the time he turns around, John's underneath him. And I'm looking at this going, I can't believe this. I mean, good God. And then he won, with the block to lock, how the wheels are turned the opposite way going through the turn 4. He and Wayne are both, and he just edged Wayne out, and I thought, oh my God, this guy's amazing. So anyway, that was 1977. And then 1978, 79, I followed him. And then in 1980, he went to San Jose, which is a long way from Sacramento. You guys know the geography, right? So 2 hours, right? So I ended up going down there and watching, and I saw him a couple of races in 1980, and it was fun, but it was just a long drive. Anyway, so in 1981, I ended up going down, and he had a new car, and so I'm in San Jose now. We're in San Jose, no more West Capitol. And San Jose was really nice, and the picture you were referring to, or somebody was referring to, that was a San Jose picture, probably 1981. So anyway, we started going down there, and I went down every week, until about 83, and he asked me, he says, you come down every week, why don't you want to be in the pit crew? And I'm like, I think so. I think so. And I was kind of wasn't sure whether I want to do this, but anyway, it worked out really well. I got in the pit crew. One thing I was going to say about John in the West Capitol, and I skipped over it. I used to go down to the pits in West Capitol. Unfortunately, that was after a bunch of past blue ribbon. How they used to sell. They sell you for $1.25. You could get. For $2, you could be like wasted. Anyway, Tommy would help out. She would sell the beer. So anyway, we'd go down the pits, and he was very, very approachable. You guys know him from the small cars. In the big cars, he was the same guy, and just the nicest guy. And he'd always want to talk to you, even though you were what I would consider I was a nobody. He would gladly engage me in conversation, talk to me, if I was interested, and I was really impressed with that. He seemed every bit the nice guy that he was a quality driver. Everything came together when you met him. So in San Jose, naturally, I'd see him in the pits, and he was really impressed that we would take the drive down from Sacramento to see him in the early 80s, and then in 83, he asked me to be in the pits. So I was in his pit crew, and just a wonderful thing, because we'd get to the pits, get to the races, I should say, and be standing in pit line getting ready to pay, and a couple other drivers would walk up to him and start talking, and he'd hold court. He'd start talking to people, and pretty soon he had a crowd, and of course he had a crowd. He was, forgot the guy's name that was a great orator, but anyway, he was really, really on, and we just had a great time. I was really proud to be in his crew because of the guy he was. We didn't always win, but I always was proud of the way he conducted himself and the way he raced, and he was just a very, very fine man. And there were so many people, some of the legends in racing really liked him. Joe Hill thought he was wonderful. Howard Kading, the Campbell Comet, maybe you guys have heard of him or not, but the Campbell Comet once said, it's like he's in a different class. He was just admiring him, because he and John would go wheel to wheel and just crazy. And I got some pictures of those guys just really going at it, on the racetrack. Like I said, these guys were really, really good people, in the pits. That was something that was really impressive about me in the pits. But yeah, I really missed it. 1988 was our last season, and we won in 82. I wasn't on the crew. He won in 82, he won in 87, and he won in 88. So those were three times in San Jose. In 86, he came in second or third because he didn't go to a race. We were mad about them making us race on, in the middle of the summer when we were trying to have a vacation. Spend some time with, working on the car. And your motor program, you got to have a week off in the middle so you can have your motor freshened up. That's assuming you don't have a gazillion dollars. And that's how we operated. We would take the motor out sometime in the middle when we were racing, and then take it into Bailey, he'd freshen it up, we'd get it back, and then we were ready to go the week after the vacation. So, but anyway, that's a different story. So, it's about all I got, but you guys know him the way I know him, but you know, the things that you've said, he never changed, you know, and it was the same way in the big cars. So I'm really glad you guys put this together for him. He'd be very proud, and he'd be very happy that people are getting some of his stuff. I'm sure he wouldn't want anyone to throw it away. If you can, he'd want it to go to you guys. He'd want it to go to you guys. I'm sure he would. So anyway, that's all I got. So thank you very much again for what you guys have done. Uh-oh.
I will say a little bit about him. He had a very good, or maybe weird sense of humor. And you never knew when he was teasing or not. My kids were about 6 through 12 or 13 when I met John. Met him at El Viso, of all places. Some of you never heard of it, but El Viso, probably that wrecked car probably happened at El Viso. Because they didn't care, you didn't wear helmets, you didn't have fire suits. So then eventually he moved up the notch and was racing out of Antioch and Petaluma. And so he comes by one night and we're going to race at Petaluma. And so we put the kids in the car. We're going up across the bridge. John looks over at my kids and says, "See that little lake? I mean that little island out there? Yeah. Well, that's where we're going to go race." "Well, how are we going to get over there?" "Oh, we'll get over there." And he would tell them stuff like that, and they would believe him. You know, he'd be so serious. Oh. So that was John. He was always happy. You know, and I always told him, I said, "Let me tell you something. When you go race, win or lose, you be the same person. You treat people with respect, and you always have a smile. Do not go out there and be grumpy and want to fight, because that is not kosher." So that was the way he always was once he was racing. He never held a grudge. He never was ornery. I don't recall ever seeing him deliberately taking anybody out. And it was always a joy to watch him race, win or lose. It was good. And if like NASCAR gave us a trip to when he won the championship one year, the whole the NASCARs from all over the United States sent the champion to Daytona to a banquet. Now John was not one to want to go fancy places and put on any airs. So I looked at him and they said, "It's all free. You'll be staying at Daytona at the Hawaiian Inn, and then we'll treat you right once we get you there." And this was in December. So I looked at John and I said, "We're going." Because he was the kind that did not like to travel or go or put on any show. So we went to Daytona and had a blast. You know, they treated us with respect. They had a lot of fun. They took us for a ride around Daytona racetrack and to the Disney World, the Epcot Center. So, but he was one that, you know, if I said we're going to go someplace, I had to put my foot down and say, "We're going." And that's the way he was. And I hope that he's treated each of you the same way. From what I hear, from what I see, that he was well respected here. I can tell you this much. I have appreciated each and every one of you and how your friendship meant so much to him. And I thank you very much.
Thank you.
I got one more thing. So like I'm the old dog here, right? I've been doing it for 36 years. John raced RC cars longer than I do, longer than I have. I saw him, I didn't know him at the time, but I knew who he was. I remember seeing him before I ever started racing, over here at the County Mall. It was an on-road race. He was out there over at Long Struts. I go, that's John Viel. He's playing with little cars? King of the Hill, West Capitol. He's out there with an orange car, doing a road course on an on-road track. So, I don't know how, I mean, that had to be like, I started in 86, that had to be like 81, 82-ish. He's been around a long time racing a lot of different things.
He never threw anything away.
Racing.
And he was fast at everything he raced.
Yeah, yeah.
Always
Well,
fast.
he lived, slept, and ate racing.
Yep.
I mean, it was never out of his mind, You'd see him thinking, and I knew, he's thinking up something, it's something to do with the race car. He was forever, he lived, breathed, and did everything for racing. And he was trying to teach me how to weld. Maybe he could get a break. Because he had his own welding, everything that he did right there in the shop. So, yeah, I was out there trying to weld.
You weld that bed frame roll cage into that car?
Yeah.
Oh, and I have to tell you this. We were racing at Vallejo, and I hadn't been, Petaluma. And I hadn't been around him very much. So I didn't really know how he looked or acted. At that time, you didn't have helmets. You didn't have driving suits. You wore what you brought. And so he's coming around the racetrack, and I'm looking, and he's got this stupid cigar hanging out. At that time, he smoked cigars, and there he is, driving crazy, cigar hanging out.
As you think about it, I kind of see that, John.
Yeah.
Yes, any other stories?
I got one real quick. So, John Viel, such a simple man, into racing. I admire him. Just a quick story while I'm thinking here is I grew up at San Jose Speedway watching him run. I was born in '75. By '76 or '86 or so, I was 10, 11 years old. And I'd go out there every weekend with my family. My dad built engines, he was in the pits, and I didn't really have a favorite. I rooted for Nick Racino and Howard Kading, John Viel, of course, battling all the time. And I didn't really have a favorite. I just liked them all, And so I went to the pits one night, one of the rare occasions I got to go in the pits. You get to go in the pits the other night, usually we just got shuffled off and went home, but I was getting autographs, and I went up to Howard Kading because he was available, and, hey, can you sign my hand? And he wouldn't sign it. He's like, I'll sign my hands, Good guy, but he wouldn't sign it. But I went to John, and he signed my hand when I was about 11. I was about 11.
I remember that.
Maybe it was me, This was 86 or so. He signed my hand, and I was just like,
Oh, right on, thank you.
This is the guy, And I rooted for him. I cheered for him. Big John, that moniker, I remember as a kid just yelling as loud as I could in the stands when he was running hard, and he did often, especially in those later years, and just watching him do well and succeed and cheer him on was great. I just want to say he was just a kind guy, he was just into it, smiled, friendly, happy guy, and through racing as well, RC, he's always been that guy. Always willing to talk, help, old stories. A little bit of tidbit I learned from him is this: a lot of times when he raced, he may not have been the fastest that day, he may not have had the fastest the most horsepower that day, but he'd let the race come to him. And that's where he was smart too. 1 and 2 would get into it, and he would just let it come to him. He wouldn't push it. He would take what the car would give him, and it would just come to him. A lot of his from his stories to me came that way. A lot of his, so that's just a little tidbit I took, and RC racing is just let it come to you. So, anyways, John Simple, I miss him, and rest in peace, John.
Well, the RC racing really took over for him because he dearly loved it. And that took over the big spot when he could no longer race the big cars. And it was a real blessing for him to have it because he lived, breathed, and like I say, ate racing. And these cars, he truly adored them. He really enjoyed those. Every Monday morning I'd call, or if I was talking to him on the morning, what are you doing? Ordering parts.
You know, it's funny.
Gotta get stuff.
You know, it's funny because I have a friend that owned a hobby shop in Concord. He had, every Monday, John would come in there and order his parts, and he had his own little bin underneath the table for him and his parts. I'm not kidding you. It's funny.
Here they are.
Exactly.
It's all here.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
If he enjoyed it, he didn't do it in a small way, he did it in a big way.
Oh, yeah.
Go big or go home.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everybody. All right, we're gonna start the races here pretty quick here. We're gonna have, anybody wants to get out there on the tractor, we're gonna do some, just memory laps for John here. We get all of John's cars that are here, let's get them out there. We'll just get some laps and a little memory of John, and I'm sure he's watching from up above here, so. Thanks everybody, thank you.
Thank you.
I thank all of you for coming out. You've really made my day. So, thank you very much.
I'm really glad you guys came. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you, Joe. It's not going to be the end of our conversation.
I know.
Oh,
we're already talking.
He was a
about
straight up renegade.
It's going to be an annual race.
Road warrior, the real road warrior. Check it out.
Thank you so much for doing this. It's been a real blessing.
I met a lot of famous people. That's probably the coolest famous person I ever met.
Yeah. It was impossible not to like him.
We had a lot of fans. Richie grew up watching John forever. This guy right here.
Yeah, have you? Yeah.
Richie used to be always, I'm sure you were in San Jose in the pits when he was a kid.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
One time, we were sitting up where I always sat, and I went up to the announcing booth, and there was a straight Chinese kitten coming in. So I went to there and asked anybody, you know, if it had on the racetrack.
All the way up there. those were in. So Aaron got by Jake right there. They had that last lap stick coming through the wall there. So Aaron won that. Jake in the 2, Rob in the 3, Ryan in the 4, Ralph in the 5, Carson in the 6. Hold off, you guys. Hold off, you guys. You got me, John? How's that track? More than stuff to do. One off 4. There they go. race. I want to take the race.